Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast, the show that brings you the latest insights, thought leadership, and stories from across the global mining industry. In today's episode, we have Eduardo Landin, who's the CEO of Hochschild Mining, who are a LSE-listed precious metals company who focus on the exploration, mining, processing and the sale of gold and silver across the Americas. In this episode, we're going to walk through Eduardo's journey to leading one of the sector's most established precious metals producer, take a look at the company's diverse portfolio across the Americas. We're also going to unpack the latest Q1 of this year's update, like the Monte de Carmo and the Royropata, particularly in the context of tightening silver supply. We're also going to discuss the role of Brownfield exploration in sustaining long-term growth and what the future could look like for Hochschild from both an operational and investor perspective. And also, we're probably going to cover a lot more as well. So, Eduardo, great to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm fine, Rob. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today.
No worries. Thank you as well. And I wondered, as we always start these podcasts off, we were speaking off air just before recording. You actually used to live in London for a while. So I just wondered if you can just tell us a little bit about your career, how you got into the mining industry, how your sort of career's developed to what it is today. So I'll hand it over to you.
Of course. Well, as I said to you, I was living in England. I finished my degree at Imperial College. I graduated as a mechanical engineer. And as soon as I finished my degree, I joined Repsol, the Spanish oil company. You know, at that point, Repsol had the idea to grow in Europe. But after 2 or 3 years that I was with that company, they decided to move to Latin America. So they offered me the possibility to come to Peru, to join the operations here in Lima, Peru. And I accepted. So I came to Peru with 26 years old after 2.5 years working in the UK that, as I said to you, I really enjoyed. And I joined the refinery and marketing business at Repsol. After 8 years, and after I finished my MBA, they offered me the possibility to go back to Spain to work in the headquarters, but I decided to stay because I was already make my family here in Lima. So I decided to stay and I started looking for opportunities. Um, at that point, I joined the Peruvian government at the Ministry of Energy and Mines to lead the petroleum advisory practice. Um, and I spent there like 2 years. And one day, Ignacio Bustamante, that used to be my boss here, the last CEO, he looked for me. We had an interview. He offered me to join the Hochschild Group. I knew that Hochschild was a very good company because I used to sell them some fuel, when I was at Repsol. And I decided that it was, good to join this company. And I start from, I joined Cementos Pacasmayo, part of the group, as a manager of new businesses to see opportunities. But very early, after a year working in Cementos Pacasmayo, Eduardo Hochschild offered me to move to the mining business. Yeah. The company, it was just listed on the London Stock Exchange, as you said. And they offered me to go to Argentina as a country manager. The San Jose operations, I could tell you later about that operation, just started, and I went there as a country manager, and that was the beginning of my career in Hochschild. Then I spent 3.5 years in Argentina. It was a very good experience. We doubled the capacity of that mine. We did a lot of things, to make competitive operation. And after that, they offered me the possibility to come back to Lima and developed Immaculada project from a feasibility study to operation. So that was, the job that I accepted. I came back, and back in 2013, Ernesto Valarezo was he was the former COO. He left the company, and they offered me the possibility to become COO. I spent 10 years as a COO of the company, developing Immaculada, San Jose, and operating different mines. And in 2023, Ignacio left the company. He had another opportunity, and he recommended me as a CEO, and the board of directors, and of course Eduardo Hochschild, accept the recommendation, and I became CEO of the company. I always say that this is a very nice story because I was a Spanish guy that nobody knew at Hochschild Group, and I had the possibility to become a CEO of the company, just working hard, and demonstrating that you get results, and you treat people well, and you try to do the things well, so that's the way to grow in this company.
Yeah.
That's my story.
Yeah, no, thank you. And obviously, you've been with the company for over 18 years now. And as you've explained, you've worked your way up to the CEO level. And I guess that you've seen so many changes in the organization from when you first joined. How has that been? And how has your journey working up the hierarchy of a company to the CEO? How has that been? And also, because I work obviously in recruitment, and there's not many people that have been with companies for 18 years. Most are a few years, but you've been there 18 years. How have you, I suppose, how have you dedicated yourself to the company for that long period of time?
Well, let me say that in October I accomplished 20 years with the group. Yeah, and the thing is that I always say that the most important competitive difference that Hochschild has, is the working environment. Eduardo Hochschild, this company used to be a family company, and I think we had a very nice journey to become a public company with everything that means to be a public company, but without losing the essence of a family company. So the structure has not changed very much. We have been always working with a corporate structure that gives services to the countries, and with a country manager in each country that we have opened. Yeah. And I believe that structure has worked extremely well. You know, um, we have been making progress on the way we set objectives and the way we manage the businesses. Once you have one corporate, you have different countries, but at the end, it hasn't changed too much in the last 18 years. Today, of course, we have much more, better softwares, better ways to work. We are much more efficient in many, many processes. But at the end, the essence of the environment, the climate that we live in this company is probably the most important thing, and is why people stay here as long as me. I'm not the only sample. To give you an example, Eduardo Villar, which is the human resource vice president, is 30 years. Our CFO is 20 years. Everyone has been here a very, very long time, So, I believe that we have a very strong culture, and people enjoy, working in Hochschild. And that's extremely difficult to find, I mean, I've been working in different companies, and I've seen many companies. It's difficult to reach this level, of a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. I mean, there is very little politics in this company. We are very quick on the decisions. We have very clear what are our goals. And it has been like that in the past, not only since I became CEO. I mean, I have made some changes, of course, on the strategy, but I mean, the essence of the company hasn't changed at all. And that's the reason why. And probably, I mean, you have been in the recruiting business. That's the reason why, I mean, I decided to stay here.
Yeah, no, it's very good to hear that there's been a lot of longevity with obviously some of the senior management. So, no, it's really good to hear, and it's refreshing to hear because there's not many companies that can have some key people in their businesses for that long. So,
Absolutely.
um, obviously, Hochschild is diverse across obviously markets, many markets. I just wonder if you can just talk us through your different mines and highlight any strategic importance of each project.
Of course. Well, let me start with Immaculada. I mean, well, let me start saying that we have three producing assets at the moment. We have Immaculada. That's the one that I was involved on building that mine. It's our flagship mine today. It's a mine that start production back in 2015. And it's been producing like 200,000 ounces since we start operations, with very good all-in sustaining cash cost. That's it's a mine. It's a fantastic mine, and we are still discovering important resources. Last year we brought 1 million ounces of inferred resources. So I mean, I believe I mean, it will continue producing between 180 and 200,000 ounces in the next 5-6 years, without taking into account the possibility of continuing doing brownfield exploration. Of course, that's the way we will do. Then we have San Jose. That was a mine that opened back in 2008. We start with 750 tons, then we double the capacity. It's been producing around between 150 and 120,000 ounces of gold equivalent. Today, is producing 120. I mean, the problem with San Jose is the cost. I mean, not in this price environment, because I mean we have a lot of margin, but it's something that worries me in terms of the competitive position of Argentina as a country regarding their salaries in dollars. They are extremely high. Anyway, it's a very profitable mine. We have made a lot of cash in the last year in San Jose, and at the moment, without any exploration, we have around 3 years of life of mine. And finally, we have Mara Rosa. That's the latest mine that we have developed in Brazil. Brazil is a fantastic jurisdiction, especially in certain states. Certain states, there are mining states, and in terms of permits, for example, is very straightforward. I mean, the government give you a lot of help in any possible way. That's very important. And also, they have a very well qualified labor, because, as you know, Brazil is a mining country in general. Has been an iron mining country, but I mean, they have a lot of resources, and we believe that is the right place to be, as a third country for the Hochschild operations. I mean, going into the new projects, if I may, we have two new projects. Something that we acquired in Brazil called Monte do Carmo. It's a very similar project as it used to be Mara Rosa at the beginning. It's 1 million ounces in total resource, with around 1.6 grams per ton. It will be an open pit. and we are planning to start construction in July. I mean, really Q3 2026. I mean, we are finishing all the detail engineering that we need to value. I mean, to give to the market a new assessment, financial assessment of this project. I mean, for sure, at current price, is going to be extremely profitable. But we do acid test, trying using low prices to make sure that in the long run it will be a profitable asset. Yeah. And then we have another project called Royropata that you mentioned at the beginning. And Royropata is the next flagship of Hochschild Mining. I mean, we have discovered 3 million ounces of gold equivalent, but 90% of that is silver. To give you an idea, the width of the veins are around 20 meters and grades of around 600 grams. So, I mean, it's a very, very important deposit that it will give us a lot of production above 150,000 ounces for the next 10, 15 years, the lease. Yeah. So we are extremely happy with that opportunity. How I can see the company? I mean, today the company produced 320,000 ounces, and I can see the company from 2029 producing 500,000 ounces. Our strategy is extremely clear, and that's something that me with the team brought to the market, and we believe that it has been accepted. Investors are happy. I mean, it's reflected on the price, and it's simple. I mean, we want to grow with brownfield exploration. I don't say that we couldn't do some greenfield, but today our focus is brownfield exploration in our current sites to make sure that we expand life of mine in each site. Yeah. In terms of the operation itself, we have to be extremely efficient. Efficient is everything in this business. Yeah. Because you need to make sure that you are the one that produce at the lowest cost possible based on your asset. Okay. That's very, very important. Then ESG, especially safety, is extremely important for us. And we are extremely honored, of has become one of the best possible players in this sense. Our frequency index is below 1 today. We feel very proud, and we will continue, working on safety, because we believe that every single person that comes to work in Hochschild has to go back to his family in perfect health. That's extremely important for us. In the rest of the ESG, environment, diversity, everything. I mean, we have set our KPIs for 2030, and we are in that journey. Trying to accomplish those KPIs. In some of them, we have already accomplished the 2030 level, which is very good. And we will continue working on that. Yeah. And finally, you have to be very disciplined with your capital. First of all, you have to invest in projects that it will give you return. I mean, medium, short-term return. And you should not buy something that it will have a very long time return. That's something that the market doesn't like. Then, of course, you have to pay debt with your balance sheet. You have to give dividends to your shareholders, and you have to make sure, that every single money that you invest, it has a very good return. We have also, for example, to give you Volcan, we had this project in Chile that we acquired many years ago. Well, we have done an RTO to make sure that today that project has its own management, and has its own board of directors, and it's flying. I mean, today is a project that we have been able to value. On the other hand, we have Arcata, a very old mine with very low grades, and we have been able to sell that mine. So we are moving to make sure that we are focused on our core assets, to make sure that we develop this growth that I just told you, and making sure that we accomplish what we promise. That's the way we see the business today.
This episode is sponsored by Mining International. In today's market, finding the right mining talent isn't easy. Mining International works closely with mining companies to identify and secure senior and technical professionals through a tailored search approach. If you're hiring or exploring your options, you can contact Rob Tyson via the show notes to start a conversation today.
You recently announced your Q1 2026 update. Just wondering if you can give us an overview of obviously the recent highlights and some of the key milestones.
Of course. Well, Immaculada had an extremely good Q1, with very good production, very good cost, as I expected, because it's a mine that is very well managed. Then San Jose has a very decent quarter, of course, affected by what I said. I mean, no devaluation, inflation on top, that's something that affects your cost. And of course, even the higher price, also affect your cost, because you have you have cost that is related to price. Mara Rosa, we had some problems last year. We have been able to turn around all those issues. Today, Mara Rosa has been able to produce 13,500 ounces, very close to our goal that was 15,000 for the Q1. And the good thing is that every single problem that had last year, Mara Rosa, is being solved. We have the filters working. We have the thickener that we said that we were going to build is going to be start commissioning now on the 1st of May. We have some issue with the contractor. We have a new contractor in place. So I believe that this year, Mara Rosa will have a transition year, to become a very good operation next year. So everything was really good. We produced around 70,000, and we are in the right track to be able to accomplish our guidance to the market, which is between 300 and 320,000 ounces for the full year.
You've spoken a lot about the improvement plan at Mara Rosa. What changes have been made at the mine, and do you believe the project is well placed to obviously deliver strong production?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, we had a main issue that was the filters. The filters were not well commissioned, and we didn't have the right people there. So we decided to make important changes. I believe that today we have a very professional team that has been able to focus themselves, on the problems. And the first problem was the filters. Yeah. Well, we talked to the supplier. We worked with them for 2-3 months, and we have been able to solve that problem. Today filters are working to the nameplate capacity. Then we realized that in order to maximize the production of those filters, it was good to have a thickener, So we decided to go ahead and build a thickener prior to the filters. Once that thickener will be in place, we'll have a better quality, tail quality to go to the filters. That would maximize the capacity of the filters, and so dry stack that that today is a challenge for every single mine. The dry stack process is totally controlled. That's extremely important for us, especially working in Brazil, that authorities are concerned about tailings in general, for the past issues that they had. Then the other bottleneck was the mine. I mean, in order to have the flexibility of the mine, we need to extract 80,000 tons per day. That's a lot, yeah. And we need to have a contractor that could reach that level in order to have that flexibility and to be able to pass through, the mineral, yeah, that is needed to accomplish with our annual targets. Yeah, what I can see is that in the next 2-3 months, all these bottlenecks are going to be solved. Yeah, so I expect to have a Q3 and Q4 in line with our expectations when we decide to build this mine. In terms of production, I mean, Mara Rosa is going to be producing like around 80,000 ounces this year, yeah? And from now, I mean, we just finished the life of mine exercise. We believe that we can have this mine producing 90,000 ounces for the next few years, So if we add some brownfield exploration and we are succeed on brownfield, I mean, we could maintain that level of production with good all-in sustaining cash costs for the next, say, 8 years, 10 years. Yeah, that's the objective that has been set for the Brazilian team, and of course, us as a corporate will help them in every single aspect. So I see that Mara Rosa is going to be an important asset, and that learning curve that we had in Brazil, because, I mean, you have to recognize something. I mean, once you start in a new country, you have a learning curve. It happened to us in Argentina back in 2008, happened to us in 2024 in Brazil. But that learning curve is going to be used in Monte do Carmo, and that's very important. All the lesson learned that we had in Mara Rosa has been applied, to Monte do Carmo. So I believe that Monte do Carmo is going to be smoother, in terms of the building Monte do Carmo and start operation. It will be better than has been in Mara Rosa.
Yeah, obviously continue with Monte de Carmo mine. Obviously you're looking at construction. What progress has been made at the project, and what are the next steps? And why would you say this mine is an important asset for the company?
Well, I mean, we like to go by the book in terms of engineering. I believe that this is much better to spend money on paper than spend money on the field. It's good to have good engineering studies. And so that's the reason why we decide to stop a little bit, and do all the engineering studies, geotechnical, metallurgic, hydrology, everything, And that's something that is going to be finished on the 30th of May. Okay, so on the 30th of May, we will have a CapEx level, and of course, an estimation of what it will be the all-in sustaining cash cost for that operation. Then we have to take these figures to the board of directors to be approved, yeah, and then we will start building the site. I mean, the first task, which is very important, is the pre-stripping, because the demineralization of this project is on the side of a cliff, yeah. So we need to do an important amount of pre-stripping, and of course start building all the civil work, for the plan and for all the components. Then we have rainy season. We'll start in July. In November, December, we'll have rainy season. I mean, your productivity during the rainy season is low, and you have to be very careful in terms of safety. And then we'll have another year of construction, and I expect to finish this project in around 24 months. That's the initial objective, yeah? So why Monte do Carmo is going to be a very important project? Because it will add around 80,000, 90,000 ounces per year to our portfolio. That means that I mean, we are talking about like 25% of an increase, and also something very important is that Monte Carmo but plus Mara Rosa, it will be like 200,000 ounces in a new country, so we need to make sure that we have the right team and the right processes, to accomplish all our goals that we have set for 2029.
You also have the
Royropata.
Royropata, that's it,
Yeah.
which is a significant asset, particularly given the current supply dynamics around silver. I just wonder if you can talk us through that particular project.
Yeah, let me explain what is Royropata. We used to have a mine called Pallancata. Yeah, Pallancata and Selene. Selene was the plant and Pallancata was the mine. Yeah. And that mine had a permit, yeah, an environmental permit. Well, what happened is that we discovered an extension of Pallancata mine, but unfortunately, that extension, it was out of the permitted area. So we stopped that mine and we put that mine on care and maintenance. So we have been exploring that mine through the Brownfield strategy, and we have been able to bring 3 million ounces gold equivalent, but as I said, 90% silver. Yeah. Mineralization is extremely good, 20 meters width. That's very important for high productive mining methods. Yeah. And grades also are very good, like around 600 grams per ton. So that combination, I mean, to have one structure that contains 3 million ounces with those grades and that width, that means that we have a new flagship in the company. And I mean, worst case scenario is a mine that could produce between 100 and 150,000 ounces per year for a very long time, So today, what we have been able, first of all, to negotiate with the communities, and that's a very important point, in Hochschild. And it's something that we changed 3 years ago. I mean, we changed completely our strategy with the Peruvian communities. And we didn't have any problem whatsoever, in the last 3 years, taking into account that this year has been an electoral year. So that's something that is worth to mention. So in Royropata, we have been able to close the easements with the communities and also to advance with the document that has to be presented to the government to get this new permit. I mean, that document, it will be presented to the new government. You know that we are having elections. Yeah, we'll have a new president in July. So we'll have a new government from July onwards. So we are presenting that document. We expect that approval in a year time, so July 2027. And once you get that approval, you need to have some operational permits, that it will take you, let's say, 6-7 months, yeah, the most. So in 2028, yeah, we will start developments, to make sure that we develop the mine and the ramp up of that mine, So another 150,000 ounces, Monte Carmo will bring, let's say, 90,000 ounces. I mean, you have 240,000 ounces there, plus your base that we assume that will keep like around 300. So, I mean, it doesn't sound crazy that Hochschild Mining could become a mid-tier company that produce 500,000 ounces of gold equivalent.
Hochschild seems to be always very active in, obviously, brownfield exploration. How important of a role does this play, obviously, within your broader growth strategy?
Well, as I said, I mean, I believe that, let me say something. I believe that the value, yeah, of the mining business is what you discover. Because, I mean, if today you are going to go to the market to try to buy 1 million ounces, yeah, the seller will expect to get something related to the current price. Yeah. So when you discover something, you have the whole value. So that's why we believe that brownfield exploration is one of the most important pillar in our strategy, because we have these operations that has huge land packages of an explored field, with a lot of potential, and there is a lot of value when you bring new resources to a current plant, and that's I mean, Royropata is the perfect example. You have a unit, an operation unit that you expand life of mine for 15 years. I mean, you have something that value thousands of millions of dollars, yeah, and you have, your capex has been $200 million. So that's where the value is for investors. It's true that, through M&A, you can find opportunities, and we have two samples, Mara Rosa and Monte Carmo. But to give you the sample of Monte Carmo, the one that I decided to acquire together with the team, we bought that project for $60 million. So that was an opportunity. So you need to look for opportunities. If you go to the market and buy Monte Carmo for $600 million, it will be very difficult, to make this project profitable, because something that you don't control is prices. So you have to make sure when you do your analysis that at very low prices, your asset is profitable. And that's something that Brownfield gives you from the beginning, because your discovery cost is nothing, So that's our philosophy.
Yeah. You stepped into Hochschild at a time where delivery and consistency really mattered. How do you personally set the tone for obviously execution across such a geographical dispersed organization, obviously working in 3 different countries?
Well, I believe that the most important thing, is to set objectives, for the company and for the people. Yeah. So we have created a system that we set up the objectives for the CEO, the company objectives. Yeah. And we have been able to make sure that every single person at the organization has objectives that they are totally aligned with the company objectives. That's something that sounds easy, but it's extremely difficult to implement. Yeah. But I believe that we have been in that project for the last 3 years. And today I feel that our objectives for 2026, people objectives in general, are very well set up. We believe also on a lot of feedback. We have a process of feedback every 6 months, and it's very important, to have that process, to follow up on the objectives. Yeah. Make sure that people are motivated, and the people are that they feel that they have the support, that they feel that they can take decisions, because as I said, we are a company that take decisions very quickly. So we need people, that feels that they can take decisions. And that's very important, that's very important. In terms of the organization, of course, we have a country manager organization for each country. That country manager is responsible for the P&L of that country. And of course, we have a corporate, which is work as a matrix that gives services to those countries. And it's working really well because we are a very mature organization and our relationship is very good. So I said at the beginning of this podcast, we are not political. We are not a political organization. We are a organization that has one goal, and we follow a goal, and is a goal for everyone.
You had a deep operational exposure earlier in your career. How has your leadership style evolved now that you're making decisions, obviously, at the portfolio and capital allocation level?
Well, I mean, it has changed because I used to be an operator, and now I have to deal with different things, financial, investors, the board, yeah. And of course, I try to make sure that I had the right people, I had they have the right incentives, yeah. And my management style is simple, is open, yeah. I base my relationship on trust, Of course, I follow up, the objectives, but basically, I mean, you have to make sure that people enjoy the journey. You know, I believe that's my main function. That people are supported and happy and ready to take decisions, and they enjoy the journey. I mean, they prepare themselves to be better. I always say to everyone in this organization that they have to make sure that their reports are better than them. They have to be open to that situation. That's the way those reports are going to push you up, to grow in the organization. So we have that kind of environment. It's difficult to explain, Rob. I mean, I believe that culture, and that relationship between us is the real competitive difference that Hochschild Mining has. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone can do exploration, everyone can discover ounces, everyone can operate mines, yeah. But I mean, the difference is people, you know?
What's the hardest leadership lesson that you've learned since becoming, obviously, the CEO?
Well, I believe that when you are a CEO, yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity. It's probably the dreamed role. When you start your career, I mean, it's your dream to become a CEO of a listed company. It's fantastic, yeah. But of course, it's coming with a lot of responsibility, yeah, and a lot of pressure, and you need to manage, that kind of pressure, Also, I believe that one lesson that I learned is that you have to be ready for the unexpected, and you have to be ready to solve the unexpected. And in certain terms, I mean, you are alone because you cannot share that responsibility with anyone else. You are the one. Of course, you have a team that support you, but you are the responsible person for that unexpected situation. And also, as I said, I mean, the most important thing is people, is talent, yeah, is culture. That's a lesson that I learned since I became CEO of this company. The most important thing is people.
And when you started nearly 20 years ago with the company, obviously your aspiration was to be the CEO. Is it what you expected from when you thought back then to what it is in reality?
Totally. Yes, of course. I mean, when you join a company, yeah, you don't have the expectation to become CEO. Well, at least not me. It's not my style. I had the intention to, of course, to grow. But become a CEO is something that you have to be ready. Yeah, but you have to have the opportunity. I mean, probably you are ready and you don't have the opportunity. And you have to be ready also for that situation because there is only one CEO. and there is many vice presidents. So you have to be open. Yeah. I mean, everyone that asks me, what can I do, to become a CEO? Yeah. Well, you have to be ready, and be ready means a lot of things. But at the end of the day, no one can make sure that they're going to be lucky to be a CEO. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I guess you have to be ready, but also lucky as well, because you've got to be in that position to have that potential
exactly,
opportunity.
absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, your responsibility is to be ready.
Yeah. And lastly, and looking ahead, what does the future hold for Hochschild, and why should investors be excited with the plans ahead?
Well, first of all, I believe that we are a very serious company. We are a company that is listed on the London Stock Exchange, and that means a lot. In terms of corporate governance. And that's very important for investors. The second thing is that we are a company that has life of mine, to produce 300,000 ounces with good all-in sustaining cash costs. Yeah. And we have these two projects that could bring 50 or 60% additional production in the next few years. I mean, we are talking about 2.5 years, the most. That's something very special if we compare ourselves with our competitors, because we have, with name and surname, two projects that they are a reality today, with a lot of challenges, of course, as any project, but we have a plan, to become to have, that's 500,000 ounces. That's the number that I have in my head. Yeah. And of course, if we can be efficient, very efficient, yeah, and contain cost with this price environment, I mean, the amount of cash generation is going to be very, very important. And the most important thing with that cash generation is that we will have the discipline, to keep that cash to find the next opportunity without doing any crazy thing. We are not going to go shopping, with, we need to have the cash because, this is a cycle. I mean, I don't know if in the next 5 years we are going to have these prices. But what is true is that there is a real demand, for gold. Demand on gold has increased a lot, and that's something that is there to stay, independently of the geopolitical situation. And with silver, it's happened exactly the same. There is a lot of demand on silver for a photovoltaic industry, and that's something that adds a lot of value. Hochschild with Royropata. Royropata is a silver deposit, and there is only a few silver new deposits in the world. So that's something that investors should take in consideration, at the time, to believe that we are a good opportunity, invest opportunity.
Eduardo, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing your story. Thank you for telling us about Hochschild as well, and obviously your journey with the company. As you said, coming up to 20 years service with the company, and obviously you've risen up to the top to be the CEO. So thank you for sharing everything and telling us the outlook of the company. If our audience wants to reach out to you and obviously ask any questions, and also obviously follow the story, follow the company, and look at obviously over the next few years what you're looking to do, how can they go about doing that, and what social media platform channels are you on?
Well, I am the LinkedIn for sure. I have my own LinkedIn, and the company has their page also. They can contact me directly or through the corporate offices in London. Is well published on the web page. So of course.
Yeah, we'll include all those in the show notes accompanying this episode for easy access. So really, thanks very much for coming on the podcast. Maybe you want to come on sometime next year and give us an update be much appreciated.
Of course, Rob, I will be extremely happy.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, appreciate your continued support. Obviously, this episode was focused more in the Americas and South America, but please share this episode far and wide across the world. We want to educate our mining community. Obviously, we've been speaking about gold, speaking about silver, and obviously Eduardo's story from being in operations to then become a CEO. So hopefully there's a lot of takeaways that anyone that listen can learn something from. So thank you again, and until next time, happy mining.